I want to start this video by saying I'm not in marketing, I'm not in sales. This whole video is coming from the perspective of a fan of video games in general. This is not a fanboy video. I do not care what console you own, what PC you own. All of them are great. Video games are great. Let's just get that out of the way. But today I'm talking about Nintendo Switch sales. And the reason I'm talking about this in general is because, well, for one, I am a very Nintendo-based channel. And two, I think it says a lot about the trends of this console generation that has been the biggest generation for consoles yet. To start off, I want to talk about one of the doom and gloom things that happened about 5 years ago. Everyone told us that consoles would die, that this was the last generation of consoles, that they were over, that there were no more, and mobile would take over everything. And what we found was that consoles have been doing almost better than ever. In fact, to the point that there is no signs of slowing down, that we are very much on track to have a PlayStation 6 and a Nintendo Switch like 4 at this point, and an Xbox One X, 2, X3, whatever the new ones are going to be called. I don't know the pattern of Xboxes, I'm sorry. It's very clear that we have this every once in a while, right? We have this every once in a while where people say this is the future. This is the future. But this year, and the past few years, and the past 6 years have taught us one thing, and that's the one thing people want more than anything, is good games. They don't want fancy extras. They don't want all the trimmings that don't matter. They don't want a home entertainment system. If they wanted a home entertainment system, they'd buy an Android box or something like that. People buy consoles because they like video games, because they want to play good games. And in this case, you can see with the Nintendo Switch selling 36.87 million consoles as of the 30th of July, which has probably improved immensely as of now because they are the highest selling console this year in America, not worldwide. I think that goes to PlayStation 4. But then if you look at the PS4 as well, that this year also as of 30th of July sold or surpassed 100 million sales, which is faster than the PlayStation 2 and the Wii, which again is insane. It shows that consoles are healthier than ever. But as I said, the Nintendo Switch is on track as well to also get to 100 million sales as well. There's one key ingredient we can see here, and before people say, hey Calvin, you're against Xbox, you hate Xbox. I believe Xbox doesn't actually release its sales numbers, so I can't actually say it, so I'm sorry that I can't include Xbox in the conversation right now. It's not that I hate Xbox, I love all video games, I don't care. But in this case, you look at both these consoles, and what they have is great games. They have fantastic games that make people buy consoles, and that's only going to improve as time goes on. I mean, look at this fall alone for the Nintendo Switch. You have Pokemon Sword and Shield coming out, Link's Awakening is coming out, and I for one know that a lot of people are buying consoles, the Switch consoles, just for this Pokemon game, just for Link's Awakening, because people are that big of fans. They've been waiting out on buying the console. Some people haven't even bought the console yet, and I know they're diehard Nintendo fans, and to me that means there's a lot of room left for consoles to be sold. Now, this may sound like I am gushing over the Nintendo Switch, but I'm just using basic numbers here. I do think that what we should be focusing on for the future is not gimmicks, is not funny little extras. It's not all these really cool things and new innovative things that people think are going to make people go crazy. Because as we've learned in the past, all these gimmicky stuff becomes cool for a moment, and then quickly goes back into being a fad. People just want good video games. And that makes me very happy, because I was worried about buying the Nintendo Switch at first, and now I can say that I've had some of the best experiences on that console that I could ever have in video games in general. As a wider part of this conversation, I think it's important to also note that all three console companies, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, have made clear investments in the future of their console through video games. It's not in fancy gimmicks or fancy information or specs. It is very clear that even if you look at stuff like with Xbox buying up development teams and dev teams, such as Ninja Theory and Obsidian, they very clearly know that the future of video games is still in video games. It's still in experiences that people love to play, even though you need to have those multiplayer games, which I'm including in this video game discussion because they're important too. It's also very good to know that the investments being made are toward the future are just purely in video games. That's awesome. Like, it's awesome. It's an awesome feeling to know that your future fun with games is secure. I mean, look at the past year alone. Persona Q2, Fire Emblem 3 Houses. I haven't played Astral Chain, but I've heard it's a freaking amazing. Sekiro, Resident Evil 2. You can look at the games that are coming out very soon, like Shenmue 3, Link's Awakening, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Death Stranding. The console generation and the video game generation of like just releasing awesome games, like, we're so lucky. And I'm glad that the Switch, the PS4, and the Xbox success can be directly related to good video game. Of course, I'm not disregarding one of the biggest driving forces of sales for consoles, and that is parents, family members going into the store and picking up a console and buying it for the kids. Of course, there are still some kids who will go into a store and be like, "Mother, I would like one Fortnite machine, please." And that happens, right? That's totally a thing, because Fortnite is a console seller at this point. But correct me if I'm wrong, and I think everyone here can relate to this. I asked for a PlayStation 2, and when I got my second-hand PlayStation 2, it was for one reason and one reason only. For Tekken 4. A specific game. And I look at my nephews, and my 2 nephews are getting Switch Lites this Christmas. And the reason for that is because of Pokemon Sword and Shield. My other nephew got a Switch last Christmas, and the reason for that was for Mario Odyssey and Pokemon Let's Go. I think these games, and judging by the sales, you look at Mario Odyssey, I believe has now at this point sold 14.9 million copies. Look at Mario Kart 8 Deluxe selling 17.8 million copies. And with the Switch selling upwards of 36 million copies, you can see that this is a large fraction of the audience are clearly buying the Nintendo Switch and also purchasing these games as well. It's crazy how well this console generation is doing, and it makes me happy because as a person who generally does go for consoles, I don't have any bias against PC. That's never been in my blood or anything like that, because that's stupid. Who has a bias against a machine? That's weird, right? I still think it's good that we have a healthy console generation on the way as well, and that's my firm belief. I think that if you're looking to the future, I think that's what they have to do though, because if you look at the way the Switch started off, and look at the way the PS4 started off, and look at the way the Xbox started out the gate, they all had good starts. I think that's what they have to do for the next console generation as well, however. Again, bringing it back to the Switch, I think you also have to look at the way the Switch started as well. It started off with a banger of a game, Breath of the Wild. Now, the Switch was always going to sell well because the presentation of it was amazing. It was very clear what it was. And people were waiting for the next Nintendo console. People were just waiting for this for months. But I don't think it would have sold as well if it didn't sell or start off selling Breath of the Wild. So many people were hyped about that because day and day release, Breath of the Wild released the same day as the Nintendo Switch, and it became that thing. It became a frenzy on the internet. You have to get your Switch to play Breath of the Wild. And I think that's what they're going to have to do next generation as well. And I think no one's going to make the same mistake twice. We're not going to start off with duds again. In general, I just think it's a cool discussion to have. We can look at new gimmicks that come along every once in a while and say that they're going to be the next big thing, but honestly, it's very clear that the one thing that people want is the one thing that people want, and that seems to be clearly video games. I mean, you look at Resident Evil 2 at the start of the year that sent the internet into a frenzy. Same thing happened with Breath of the Wild. Mario Odyssey happened as well. Fire Emblem 3 Houses, I could not go on Twitter without seeing it, which I loved. I did no problem with that whatsoever. I'm just glad that I can make these videos and talk about this stuff and then have a discussion with you guys as well. I think it's also very fun.